trilogy movies, though. Like, those are just... I don't know if it's just because they're so condensed. Each story is so condensed that it has to be scary. Because then if not, it's just pointless.
Yeah.
But
just like you guys hated... Well, I wouldn't say hated, but you didn't really have a big growing fond of ABC's of Death 1.
Oh, no. No.
I liked it.
Liked it.
I just got sick.
It was just too much too fast.
I can't remember
It
which
was
one
too visceral. It was too, like...
Which letter? I can't remember again.
X?
It was X because that was the XXL. That wasn't the one that...
That's what got me. I think
that's the one that got him.
To me, that's the turning point. Well, I think after that one, it's all downhill and too much.
No, the one after
the one that got
I think
it was J or something.
I'm reading. I'll
Okay.
look him up.
It was the one
think it was the
with the children. The one where they
They'll
have
do
to
the grudge
masturbate.
scene on the
yes.
mic.
Where they have to masturbate.
Yes, that's when the one where they're like, and that weird fucking, they're chained to the chair and, and they're
now I remember.
They're having to,
I think that's all we really have to say about that
and they
one.
bring out, like, it's like at first they bring out, like, a woman.
It just keeps
and it gets
getting,
worse and worse and worse.
After, I could not. To me, that isn't, I mean, I like watching disturbing shit, but that is, like, the line for me. Whenever it has to deal with children, I can't. No. That, and then there were some in there that I just couldn't stand because they were ridiculous.
Like the farting one.
Yes.
The Japanese fart one.
Okay, so that one it automatically dawns back. I keep telling you guys about the ones, but I like it. But, like, it automatically makes me think of Machine Gun Girl and Tokyo Gore Police. Shit like that, like the Japanese exploitation films of just, like, let's see how far we can push and how stupid we can be.
Asian Extreme, pretty much, and they're just, like, it's funny. To me, it's funny, and then it's also satisfying because that's their attempt on trying to be in the subgenre of horror kind of funny. Yeah.
Like, I want to say, like, some of these people who just, like, made these films were just, like, popped in Evil Dead 2 and was like, we can do that too.
Yeah.
So when I see shit like that, yeah, the same guy who did that one, the same guy who did F, also did Machine Gun Girl.
Well, the same guy who did
I love Machine Gun Girl. It's so cool.
There was one there. I can't remember. There was another one on there that was pretty disturbing, and it was the director who did.
Which letter? Just think of it, and I got it right
I
here.
can't remember, but it's the same director who did Serbian Film.
Ugh, no. Jesus Christ. Let me look him up, because I think he's on a totally different wavelength, but... yeah, when that... I'm trying to look at the letters, and it's not coming to me right now, but... When you were talking about the kids, that's immediately what I thought of. And that poor film, would not highly recommend it for anybody to watch. I've watched it on a handful of times, and every different cut just keeps getting fucking worse. But my whole thing was, I thought, and it's gonna sound shitty, but I always thought Poughkeepsie Tapes was pretty bad. And then I saw, I was like, oh, I need to top this. And then it became Cannibal Holocaust. And Cannibal Holocaust was just really extreme because at that point in time, they didn't have the PETA laws that they have now into effect where, they say no animal was harmed during the set of this film, but every animal was harmed at the doing of this film. And anybody who's anybody about, was...
Didn't they actually, like, execute, like, a live turtle or something?
They executed a live turtle
and, this really
weird animal.
Spider thing. Like, rare species of spider. Something like that.
So, but, where was I going with this? Just, I guess in comparison... just in comparison of just what movie could top that next, and... I blame it on my friend Sam.
Did it lead all to a Serbian
film? It did, because my whole thing was I had a list and I was like, Sam, I have this movie, you need to see it. It's more terrifying than anything I've ever seen, and it's all shot handheld. And this time it's referencing to people who showed it to me, and they thought that was the shit of the shit movies. Mm-hmm. And then of course, you get my friend Mark, who literally, and now to think about it, showing it about a dozen times, it did lose its lackluster. I don't find that movie that as terrifying as...
Which one?
Poughkeepsie Tapes.
Oh.
In Poughkeepsie Tapes, it's great, but
there's the part where you can go ahead and evaluate the character, and you're like, he wouldn't do shit like that.
Well, I remember when you showed it to me, I watched it and I feel like I was the one who
you were the one.
I'm
you were like,
sorry. I was like, this is crap. Because I was expecting it. I was really expecting it to be as scary as he told me it was, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch this fucking disturbing ass scary movie, and then I was like,
nope. He was like, you wouldn't do this.
Nope.
I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, serial killer wise, it doesn't make sense.
But A Serbian Film was the last one. I told him, I go Poughkeepsie, and he was like, no, you need to see this one. Every time we met on a constant basis, it was always we were hanging out, shooting the shit, and drinking beer and having a barbecue. But he would always bring it up. He'd always be like, you need to see this film. So I'm like, you know what? When you have a physical copy and when I have a physical copy, we'll trade, all right? So the last and final time, not the last and final time because we've seen him on a day-to-day basis. He's just shipped off. But I thank him for my fuck-uppery of, me spreading the seed of, you think you've seen some shit. You ain't seen shit until you've seen the Serbian Film. And that movie...
I don't know. Every time you all talk about that movie, I feel like I can't watch it. Not even like a personal thing. It's like I feel like I'll get arrested if I watch that movie or something.
Exactly. You know? No, I feel the same way. It's exactly the same way. I'm just
like people who
I don't talk about that movie.
Like people who own a copy of that should be arrested because there's something that they've done at one point or another.
Right.
I would never own that movie.
I
would never watch it again. I don't need to.
No. Nope.
It's.
Would you classify it as a horror movie? Because everything you all told me to me sounds like it's not necessarily scary. It's just traumatizing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between like extreme. There's horror movies and then there's disturbing movies.
Like extreme.
And A Serbian Film doesn't even. I feel like I'm a bad person because I watched that movie. Like I do. I wish I never saw it.
And then it was. I think I told you this story, Oscar. Is that I found the version, and at one point in time, it was on YouTube.
On YouTube, right?
And then the thing was, there was people, because again, there's 3 different versions of this movie. So the first version we saw, Jennie was like, "Oh my god, I can't," and I was like, "No, wait." And I stop her in the middle, and I'm like, "Wait, that's not how the scene goes." I'm not going to refer to which scene it was, but Jennie was like, "I can't take much more." I'm like, but there's a thing about this film. There's a thing about this scene that's about to happen that gets 10 times more fucked up. And she goes, "What?" She says it. I find it. She almost got sick, honestly, during that scene. So it's bad that I know about this film. And honestly, my thing next, is my natural response.
I would never, ever recommend anyone to watch that movie.
No, I wouldn't either. But
it's like, you want to watch it, go ahead.
But after a while,
like you've been warned.
You've been warned. But the thing is, and this sounds bad of me, but I want to find a film that's worse than this.
No.
That's my thing.
I don't think you can get any worse than that and be legal. I don't think. Well, I feel like Silo would be worse. How do these movies end up on the Criterion Collection?
Oh God!
But I want how? What? But I'll tell you one thing about a Serbian Film.
You're gonna go through all the whole list. Why?
It's
how?
beautifully made.
Sorry.
It is a beautifully made movie. It looks beautiful and everything. Its content is absolutely
what movie were you referring to?
A Serbian Film.
Okay. Yeah, well, no, that was the thing I was going to tell you before we got segued into something else. But on the if you go look at the wiki page, it literally says, first, it doesn't say horror, doesn't say gore, doesn't, jump into the other subgenres it jumps into. Just right off the back. It's an art film. It's very artistic. The director did Jennie said it from the get-go. The guy directed a well-paced film.
Put together film.
Well put together. There was no drag moments. There might have been, certain bits of dialogue, but Jennie said it was all around. It was a good art film. But anything else other than that, no. I really can't. I don't.
Yeah. Movies like that. Movies like
Salo. It's
Is it
kind of
Salo
like
or Silo?
I don't know.
I'm looking it up. Sorry.
Salo.
120 days of something.
I'm pretty sure it's 120 days of
There it is.
sodomy.
120 days of Sodom.
Sodom. Right?
Salo.
I just feel movies like that, a kind of part of you kind of has to die to be able
Part of you has to be fucked up, I feel.
to enjoy it or just to watch it.
To enjoy
Obviously
it.
to enjoy it, but
To enjoy
I
it.
don't know. I didn't enjoy shit. I didn't enjoy. I mean, I like
There
talking
has to
about
be
it.
something. There has to be something wrong. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there was something wrong with me to be like, yeah, let's watch it. And I was like,
I think it's kind of like it's the type of thing where you almost dare yourself, like,
and that's
okay,
kind of how it is. That is, I mean, movies like that, like
I think horror movies in itself, it's kind of like it's, obviously nothing can hurt you from watching a movie, but it's also like a dare. How much can you handle, right?
Yep. And it's funny because you guys mentioned all that. Like, we were just talking about it, like, just going from a Serbian film to going into people who also liked 100, Silo, who loved that movie, also liked Cannibal Holocaust, who liked Serbian film. And then you guys talked about Irreversible. I've never seen Irreversible yet.
oh god, have you watched it?
I haven't watched it.
Okay, so I was the only one. See, this is how it works. Oscar mentioned.
I hear about him.
He hears about them all. I'm the one who watches them. So then I watch them, and it's like, all right, Oscar. So remember that movie you were telling me about? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, I watched it. So I watched Irreversible. That was a beautiful movie, film wise, and it's still. I mean, even the content of it is beautiful, intense. Fuck yeah, one of the most intense movies I've ever seen.
It has like a 10-minute rape scene, like not like
It
no
is-
cuts.
Oh, yeah,
it
that's
is-
that.
Yes,
No cuts.
No
no cuts and no angles. It's like if they
Dead on.
just set the camera down and it's just happening, and you have no other choice but
to watch
to
it.
watch it. It feels like if you just walked by these people and you just stood there watching it. But you can't go anywhere except maybe turn it off if you can't handle
stomach
it. But it's
I've heard that, and then I
shit.
heard like the first, because it's called Irreversible. Well, one, because the movie takes place in reverse, and the opening scene has to do. I remember hearing that it has like a scene where these two guys get in a fight, and one guy just bashes this other guy's head in with a fire extinguisher.
One, it starts completely out of focus, and the camera's everywhere. And the more you watch it, the more it slows down, and the more it gains focus.
Kind of like the Blair Witch Project.
No. So it starts in chaos, and it ends
in Serenity?
It is sort of, yes. It ends in Serenity. It
But the
ends
thing
in a more
is,
serene.
it's
but
gone
when you
backwards.
think about it, it ended in chaos, and it started. You know what I mean? The opening scene is it's in French. It's a French film, so definitely subtitled. And the main actor is the actor from he's the director in Black Swan.
Oh, Vincent Cassel.
Oh,
he's fucking
he's
just weird
an
looking.
amazing actor.
He's just all around just a weird looking guy.
Incredible actor. But okay, so the opening scene where these people are is a sex club, an underground sex club. So you see all these it's like bondage everywhere, and it's just that's how it is. And another movie that's also pretty fucked up is Antichrist.
Yep, that also pops up on the list right here.
And man,
The movie known
you
for...
didn't think William Dafoe was Satan.
Boy, were you wrong.
Lars von Trier's movies.
Oh,
I never saw Antichrist, but I saw a movie called Dogville with Nicole Kidman, which was really weird because the movie takes place on a soundstage, and the setting is kept very minimal, so it looks like they're on a soundstage, but everything's kind of drawn out. Like you imagine what's going on. You imagine if they're on a farm, you imagine that there's grass, and you imagine that there's like fields, but everything is just kind of outlined with chalk.
It's
So-
like a play.
Yeah, so it's kind of like very bare bones. And I remember after that movie finished, it was like the movie has to do with she's a Nicole Kidman plays a felon who's coming into that place, Dogville, where once the people of the town learn that she's a felon or she's been convicted of something, they pretty much make her a slave because they know that they can control her. So eventually the women of the town start to belittle her and call her a slut, and the men of the town start to rape her and like pretty much keep her like in like a shed and like keep her like a dog.
Jesus.
So it's like just the content itself, even though it's like very, again, bare bones, it's like the content of all his movies, that one and Melancholia, that's like literally the world ending. It's like there's no, silver lining to any of it. Like,
I've heard you mention that movie several times, but I've never seen it.
No.
Melancholia?
Mm-hmm.
It's about a woman who's getting married, and it's supposed to be obviously it's supposed to be her happiest day, but she's super depressed.
Oh my God.
Like immensely depressed. Like she is almost talking about her life like it's a prison sentence. Midway through, you end up learning that a planet is gonna brush past the Earth. And what's going to happen is it's going to and if it gets too close, that's the end of the world. Like it'll just hit the Earth and everything's going to explode and it's the end of the world. But it also has a chance of just coming by and barely missing us. I don't want to give anything away, but it's kind of like the whole point is like in an immense time of stress. Sometimes people who are going through that much pain and that much depression can give you a sense of clarity and stuff, and that happens towards the end of the movie. But yeah, it's again, it's definitely the type of movie you watch and then it ends and it's almost like a Game of Thrones episode where you're just like,
what just happened?
Like a part of you feels like, ugh.
So this is where we can mention Red Wedding.
Yeah. Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah,
Lars von Trier. And didn't you say he himself, he'll break a fucking actress and an actor?
No, yeah.
He's on a 0 fuck scale, basically.
He's up there with David Fincher and
Stanley
Kubrick making Shelley Duvall cry.
Poor Shelley Duvall. Half of the reason that she is so fucking nuts in that movie is because he made her that way.
He made her nuts.
And then you get the ones that are just pushing the boundaries, and then you have to figure out and pick up the pieces later. I'm talking about like anything Lynch has done.
True, he's another one. Who I feel
You've mentioned my favorite director.
I know, but I'm not saying he's
Naomi.
bad.
It's okay.
It's okay, Naomi. Okay, Naomi. Okay.
Yeah, where she has to do her masturbation scene
in Mulholland Drive.
He's like,
did I ever tell you that story?
I think you did.
She's crying. If you've ever seen Mulholland Drive, there's
would you say even spoiler?
No, it's like
it's not spoiling anything. Okay. It's just something that happens. So there's.
Oh, Naomi wants. She just masturbates and
there's a point to it. She's in her apartment masturbating and crying. Those tears are real because, and she explains it in the deleted scenes or whatever. She's in the commentary. She's crying for real. Like she's like, "I hate you, David. I hate you." That's what she's saying. Because she's so uncomfortable and she doesn't want to do this. Uh-huh. But he's telling her, it's okay, Naomi. It's alright. It's almost over. Like, okay, we won't do it. But he's still filming her. And he's getting the reaction he wants. And they use it.
Yeah, when you told me about this movie, I think you said, just right where you think it's about the end, it goes somewhere else. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So, and when I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, what the fuck happened to this movie that I just watched?
Well, it's the kind of movie that
it's a mindfuck.
To me, it's like the ultimate mindfuck. The way I heard about this movie was again Oscar, and
we watched this one together. I feel because
many times
we watched this
first. I watched it alone, and I told you I just watched Mulholland Drive, and you were like, and because what he told me was you're gonna watch it and you're not gonna get it. So when he told me that, that's a challenge to me. So when anyone ever tells me, you're going to watch a movie and you're not going to get it, that's basically telling me...
Challenge accepted.
So That movie, I overanalyzed, still to this day, overanalyzed to fucking death.
I don't think it's overanalyzed, and it's not an overanalysis. I feel it's perfectly the amount of analysis that movie needs.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've finally gotten it. Like, I can watch it now, and my theory continues to evolve, and the more I watch it, the more my belief is proven correct. So it's kind of like, yeah, you see, blah, 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 blah. But, the first time I watched it, I was like, that was the first David Lynch movie I had ever seen.
I came across Eraserhead.
And
Finally.
I had not seen Eraserhead yet.
That movie's too good.
Did I show you Eraserhead?
Yeah.
So
Because you bought it and then we watched it.
I bought it and I watched it. And the reason I heard about it was because that's when I had been really into the midnight movies. So you told me about Mulholland Drive, I watched it, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, it's literally the kind of movie where you're like, oh, this movie isn't hard to follow, and then all of a sudden,
yeah,
it flips like, I told you.
I told it's like 2/3 through, something happens, and I'm,
and you're just like, everything you knew is...
What?
Is
like, you had ground and foundation, and you were like, yeah, this is this and this and this, and then once it comes to the middle, you're like, okay, did I come in on a bad part? Should I have paused it when I went to the restroom?
Because two-thirds of the movie, you're like, except for some scenes where you're like, okay, well, I don't know what that is, or I don't know why he would just show all these random places in this sequence. You're like, okay, this is a pretty, like, self-explanatory movie. This is a murder. This is like a mystery. She has amnesia. She's trying to figure out where she's, where she was, who she was, and all this stuff. But then, again, a little bit of like a weird scene happens, and then all of a sudden, everything's changed.
Everything you
different.
knew was not. And that's where the mind fuck comes in. And you're just like, what?
And you have to make sense of that mind fuck, and then you have to make sure that both sides of that story make sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I feel like Kubrick's done it perfectly so far. Again, the first film that I was not introduced to, again, sadly, was not The Shining. It was Full Metal Jacket.
Oh.
And my dad, I will say, he's always been heavily into military films, but he was like, this one kind of stuck with me. So, and it's weird because, I mean, correct me, I know he'll correct me if I was wrong, but the majority of the film was actually shot where we grew up.
Where is it shot?
I want to say it's shot in Fort Benning, or if I want to say it's shot in, I forgot the other name of the military base. But it was around those. I mean, like I said, if my dad corrects me, I know he will. That's if he does give a listen to this one. And Jennie still hasn't watched the second half of this movie.
Yeah, I've actually never seen Full Metal Jacket in
its
completion.
entirety.
I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I do remember it's like the first part doesn't really have anything to do with the second part.
No, it doesn't, because that's what I was like. That's the majority of the time when I was watching this film. I was like, this is what he does.
See, you all say that, but then I'm like, how? That's impossible.
He gets away with it. And we'll watch it. We'll sit down and watch it. But
like,
see, now this makes me want to be like, I want to prove you guys wrong.
Nope.
So like
Nope.
I need to watch it, and
because that's what he was pretty good at doing. I mean, watch The Shining. I feel like that was two different parts. This is my interpretation. I just saw you guys both just go, what?
I'm like, I want you to explain this.
Yeah.
Okay,
you need
so
to.
The way I saw it is that he was perfectly sane, and it wasn't until
I'm like, ooh,
he wasn't
I like this.
perfectly sane, and then the second half is just fucking just downhill. Like, I've lost my shit, and now I no longer have a family. I no longer have this, and no longer have that.
It's the descent of alcoholism.
But he doesn't.
He's an alcoholic.
But he doesn't officially have like a drink until what?
So are you saying like
was...
it's the point before he has a drink and the point after he has a drink?
Yes.
Again, I got you.
But that's not two different movies.
To me, it feels like two different movies.
The thing is,
because that's his descent into madness, and that's when the movie totally flips its script and it goes somewhere like almost Lynchian like. It's like he's making.
No, you can't do that with two epic directors. I refuse to let you do that.
Yeah, Kubrick
there's
is
Kubrick
his own,
and there's Lynch, and
his own personal
they
demon.
do not meet. No.
Okay.
I see where you're going, but okay, with Full Metal Jacket though, again, I've been seeing it in a long time, and I only saw, I think I stayed up late to watch part of it, and and again, I didn't get past the first part, I guess. It has to do with this one soldier who's just not cutting it. And the more you watch it, just the worse he gets and the worse you feel. And then something happens and then he's gone. And then it just keeps going as if, he was never there.
And that's what, to me, when I watch...
But it's the same characters.
Yes, Vincent... No. Okay, Vincent D'Onofrio is the only one who is subtracted from the equation later down the film. The guys who you're introduced to is Vincent D'Onofrio, R. Lee Ermey, and I don't know the other two actors, but they're Joker and Raptor Man. But those two actors you see later because after their so-called graduation of the Marine Corps, you get to see them in, of course, any military movie during that fucking time, and still to this fucking day, they can't get off World War II's nuts and Vietnam War. So that's where they shoot the next second half, is you're following Raptor Man and Joker going into Vietnam. But I'm not going to give too much away. It's just the characters of these two people versus Vincent D'Onofrio's character. This is what I saw, and this is why I would never be able to go or be enlisted into the military, and I'm probably going to get a lot of shit because of my cousins. Is because of that film. Is because I feel like I'm still that heavyset guy that can't be pushed too far, that'll crack under pressure or anything. But Vincent D'Onofrio's character is pushed to that limit. Mm-hmm. So once you see that, I feel like I'm not gonna say that would happen to me, but I just feel like I couldn't take.
It's like point taken. Not gonna do that.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. Just watching his character go through this shit, nope, couldn't do it. But those two actors take a totally different route. What you think they might go for when they hit Vietnam, and watching them go that way, you're like, this can't fucking be. They have to go where they need to be. They can't. And I'll say it on this wavelength because it's a certain person that I know, is that you're going to war, you have to be ready for war. You can't just at the flick of a dime think, I'm going to take another position and I'm going to be fucking safe. It could be any 5 seconds and you could be in a Humvee and you're totally done. So that's what the movie kind of takes with that. And that's where you see Joker and Raptor Man. And that's where you meet brand new genre of characters. And this is where the movie gets paid better. But it ends on a down note, though, a little bit, too. Ends on a second down note.
As most of his films tend to do.
Well, what about Eyes Wide Shut?
No. Fucking movie. Jesus Christ.
You've gone back and forth with that movie.
That was a beautiful mess.
I loved it the way it was shot, but that movie, the point is so stupid.
It is!
And then you come back, actually I think I'm still into that movie. I think I kind of like it again.
Because what you did was I loved it, I hated it, and then you come back and it was like, I finally figured it out. This is what it's about.
No, it's nothing to figure out. It's pretty it's pretty...
straightforward.
It's pretty straightforward. I think it is. But then again, I like analyzing the shit out of movies, so it's not a movie you really need to put a whole bunch of thought into.
I feel like
as much as you think you might need to, it's not.
No, there's tons of movies out there like that, but to me, I felt like movies that were kind of going down this rabbit hole of just like how far can we go would be like Requiem for a Dream. And
I remember when I first watched that movie, I watched it with one of my friends, Amy. We watched a lot of weird stuff together. Like, we watched May. I remember
finding that movie again watching Midnight TV.
And
fantastic.
And she was the one who told me about Requiem for a Dream. And she had really, really wanted to see it. So I was like, okay, let's watch it, right? So we went to All Hit Video and we rented it. We rented it, and we rented that one. We rented May. We rented Cinema Paradiso. I love that movie.
I haven't seen that movie.
It's a beautiful movie.
I heard it has a few weird parts in that movie.
Yeah,
too.
It's got several weird parts, but it's a brilliant film. And I feel like maybe something else. Anyway, So, but we watched Requiem for a Dream. She loved it. At the time, I hated it because...
I would love to hear the reason why at that time you hated it.
It scared me because it was too intense.
Yeah.
My mind was not like the way it is now.
The soundtrack
God,
will give you nightmares
True.
Alone. But like what it's paired with the...
I mean, I watched this. I was 15 when I watched this. And I wasn't...
What's going on at the same time? It's the electro...
Well, it's the
shock therapy.
The part that started like
Spoilers.
I was like, oh my god!
I mean,
if you haven't
seen it, it's been 10 years.
you just watch this movie. You have to. It's an amazing movie.
True, I agree.
But so the part that I just wasn't. I had never seen a movie like that. I had never seen a movie that intense. I remember just being completely shocked and being like, that movie was horrible and blah blah blah. Of course, that was the 14-year-old me, and I mean, now that movie's a brilliant movie.
It's a brilliant movie, but man, it's tough to watch.
Yeah, it is.
I think we should come up with like a list of movies where it's like, after you've seen it once, you never need to watch it again, because it is definitely in that kind of realm to me.
But I'll watch that movie again.
I wouldn't mind watching it again, but it's not like something I can be like at a party, hey guys, like watching Requiem for a Dream?
Well, see, the thing for me,
Let's
though...
ruin your day.
You were at a high peak, you had that fucking ice cream from DQ, and that blizzard that they flipped over that didn't fall out. I'm a fucking shit on your bricks now.
But it's like, shit, man. Why Jennifer Connelly and her depressing, shitty... I mean, like,
Wait,
why?
I thought you were going to say her depressing eyebrows. I'm sorry.
Her
depressing
shitty
movies.
character movies.
Well,
she's always a little bit...
She's always so damn depressed.
She's overwrought.
Like, there's always something terribly wrong, like, in her life. Like, she never could catch a break. Christ.
I mean, she dealt with David Bowie.
Goblin King took her brother.
Yeah.
Flipped their whole world upside down. No? Okay.
I kept thinking of House of Sand and Fog.
That movie is a tragedy if you've ever seen or heard one. But yeah, she's always, again, overwrought. And
I remember showing it to my mom, and she goes, that's such a good movie, but oh my god. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, there's no happy endings in that movie.
Nope. That's, again, I feel like that was the same thing in my mind when I always found it at, I never could find it at FYE,
Sam Goody.
Yeah, I should go to
Music
Sam Goody.
Land.
Oh, fuck it. Hold on, we'll go way back. I couldn't find it at Suncoast. I couldn't find it at Sam Goody. But every version I kept finding was the PG. There's apparently a different box art that you could find, but I always kept finding the semi-PG version
Of Requiem.
But the thing was, there was apparently a director's cut. But to me, as many times as I've seen it,
God, what's worse than what we've seen?
That's what I was thinking in my mind. Is if there's a director's cut, what fucking more shit could you add to this fucking film?
Well, because I remember reading about that. The rated R film is a film that the production company wanted Darren Aronofsky to put out, but the director's cut is his vision of the movie. It's kind of like, the rated R version isn't something he'd put his name on. The director's cut, obviously, is what he wanted to put out in the world.
So, which one have I seen?
You've probably seen the director's cut.
Okay.
Because I think it takes out a lot of the R version takes out a lot of the more graphic
Connolly scenes
and the more graphic like arm scenes.
Sure.
So
well, going down that rabbit hole once again, I wanted to find a film that was kind of more along those same lines, and it's funny that this movie doesn't pop up on this list. It's sad, but it's called Spun, and it has Mickey Rourke, Brittany Murphy, John Leguizamo, Mina Savari, but it's all kind of almost done the same way Aronofsky has it, but the way it's done is that these guys are all on speed. Oh, and it has that guy from Scott Pilgrim, who's Gideon.
Oh, Jason Schwartzman?
Yeah, has him in it too, but he's the lead in a way.
Okay.
So all these characters are all on speed, so the movie's really fast.
Oh, so it's sped up?
So the movie's like, from the get-go, it's like slow. So the
That's
movie,
awesome.
It's kind of cool because the movie and the credits are like showing you the credits of the characters they got, and then as soon as Jason Schwartzman hits that first line of speed, the movie picks up like so fucking quick. You're just like, what the fuck is going on? The only time that it starts to slow down is like the last 30 minutes because everybody's coming
His
down.
eyes coming off.
Everybody's coming down. The thing about Jason Schwartzman's character is every time he hits another bump, it keeps getting faster. So the movie picks up, and he's been awake, and I kid you not, this movie probably lasts about 3 or 4 days. He hasn't slept.
So he goes insane.
No, he doesn't go insane. It's just he's trying to find the cook. And the cook ends up being Mickey Rourke, and it goes through a whole line of shit that just gets fucked up. So what ends up happening is everybody kind of loses their end, and he finally gets an end of sleep.
Yeah. Like he's dead.
No, he really loses, and he ends up getting his night full of sleep that he wanted. But in the whole shot of the movie, just like a whole lot of shit just happens. But that was another movie I was like, wow, this movie has to, like, Requiem top that, but then I want to see another movie that's kind of like, I want to see people come down from a, horrible drug craze right now. It's kind of like that in Trainspotting.
Oh, God, Trainspotting.
I think I might have seen that one before I saw Spun too, because Trainspotting way back was...
Trainspotting was a movie I started to watch and couldn't finish until years later.
True. That hurts every time I watch it.
It's a good movie. It's a very good movie. Only if you can handle it.
Yep.
Did you end up watching it?
I never finished it.
Did you stop at the same scene I stopped?
At the baby?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's where everybody's just like, I'm going to stop there.
And...
I think it's like, this is going to ruin my day. So I'm just going to stop.
You have to be mentally prepared for that movie.
Yeah, it's not something that you're like, okay, I have an afternoon to kill. It's like...
It's like,
I'm invested.
You better have a happy-ass movie lined up after that, because...
Yeah, you have, like, Mean Girls after that movie or something.
But Trainspotting is a great movie, too.
Still have yet to see Memento. I need to probably...
Memento is awesome.
Before they fuck it up, because
that's another movie
that's what they're going into.
That Amy showed me. She goes, you have to watch this movie. And another movie that was a challenge to me, and it really is, because there is a point in that movie where you watch it backwards and forwards at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're watching it from the ending and you're watching it from the beginning at the same time. The black and white is in real time, I guess, and what's supposed to be happening in that moment. And in color is what happened and what he's trying to remember. There is a point in that movie where it meets up, and if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it, and then nothing will make sense.
Yeah, where it's like, wait, wait, and then you're kind of wondering, like, okay, because it kind of goes back and forth. It's like, well, is this person good? Is this person not good? Is the person I've been watching this whole time a bad person?
Yeah, because there's nothing you can trust in that movie.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can trust in that movie, which makes it so much harder for you to be really invested in it. If you're not paying it, it's definitely a movie you have to pay attention to. You can't just watch it and just whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a movie you have to understand in order to, I feel,
appreciate
like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I was going to go into feel-good movies or just weird movies in general. But I'm thinking of the guy who did Vanilla Sky.
Oh,
that's Cameron Crowe.
Cameron Crowe. So, showing you American Beauty.
I had never seen American Beauty. And I watched it, and that movie is incredible and sad.
It's
incredibly sad.
When I first saw it, and it was a long time ago, I saw it with my upstairs neighbor at another apartment I used to live at. And my mind, I felt, was molded already, and I could understand shit like this, honestly. Because the upstairs neighbor was into... And it was weird at this time, because thinking about it, because he was really heavily into playing Silent Hill. But the thing was, he was heavily invested in doing that, and then also watching movies that were just far off that field. Mm-hmm. And he picked up American Beauty, and he was just like, oh, that movie was shit. And me walking away from that movie, I was like, that movie was beautiful. I almost cried. Like, about a dozen times, as many times as I've seen it. And I think that was also coming away from seeing Seven at my dad's.
Ooh,
coming off from seeing Kevin Spacey from Crazy to father figure and overstepping his boundaries in a way, I want to say. But
in a way.
okay, well, they push the bar, but they let you know. And then I'm not going to tell too much of anybody who hasn't seen it, but it was like that in K-Pax as well.
I'd never seen K-Pax.
You need to,
I
like,
know,
Kevin, this is again 3 different spectrums of Spacey. You see him in 7 where he's completely psychotic, and then father figure, and then K-Pax, far right spectrum of I'm an alien, you must believe I'm an alien. And I'll show you how far of an alien species I am, because I'll show you what we do on this planet. And it's funny because I don't know who the person is in the in the movie, but like the majority of the movie he's just proving to people like I am an alien race, and every stepping stone that he does show, everybody's like, that doesn't sound like something we would do here on Earth. And then when it ends abruptly, you're just like, I want to know more about him.
Are you kind of left like, well, maybe he was?
It's a beautiful movie all the way around. I guess coming around to that too would be like, I was going to go into Donnie Darko.
Yeah, Donnie Darko was a movie I think I watched. It was probably like at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I was like trying to go to sleep, and I started watching it and I couldn't stop watching it.
The first time I saw Donnie Darko, we had a sleepover. We watched it, and I remember thinking, holy fuck, this movie is amazing.
Do you think that's like the blue pill?
Yes.
Or the red pill? Which one's the blue? Which one's
I
the
could never remember.
Is it the
Either
red
way,
pill?
I felt like he was going to rape you.
Matrix.
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 He's like, I'm going to bend you over, Neo. I'm going to fuck you in the butt.
Pretty sure it's the blue pill.
Yeah. Is it?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I haven't seen Matrix enough to watch.
It's been a while since I've seen it.
I remember the first time it was me, Mark, and I think it was my brother. We sat down and officially watched all 3. Took a long time.
Oh.
They really did.
The only one really worth watching is the first one. Second one I liked enough. The third one I was like, what?
What about the Animatrix?
It's everybody's little short story.
I liked Animatrix, actually.
It was good.
I think if I like for that, I would have actually wanted to go back and watch like more anime for that reason. I didn't, and I'm kind of thankful I didn't. But yeah.
It's just more. It's more the art style. I think it was awesome though. I guess more into those kind of films. Like,
let me see. I think a movie that I've seen once, and it's because Jennie, you bought it and we watched it. We watched, but I'd never watch again. Is Kids.
No, yeah. That's pretty up there.
Because it's like...
So, him and Gary Clark. Fucking Gary Clark and his movies. I don't think I've ever seen a Gary Clark movie that's not like that.
A little bit kid rapey.
The worst one I've seen was Ken Park.
Yep.
And I think that's his worst one. Worst in the way I mean worst is most fucked up.
It's the most explicit too, though, right?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of stuff that goes on in that movie is...
Oh, then I guess I'm looking at this...
It's disturbing because you know that it exists somewhere.
We have to watch one more, apparently. He did one more. I didn't even notice he did that one. Bully.
I've seen Bully.
I've seen that
It
one too.
used to be on Netflix for a while.
Okay.
That one is probably the most tame one. And it's still fucked up.
But it's in it. That one, they're still supposed to be teenagers, but they don't look like teenagers. So
and
it's
I think
less...
that's the only reason I'm like okay, it's not that bad.
But that's based on a true story.
Yeah, that one's based on a true story. But the thing is, like, kids, I've heard interviews with him where he's just like, well, those are the people like those are the kids that I grew up with. Like, those are the kinds of kids I grew up with. And the sad part is like, I don't know if I knew anybody personally like that, but you know that there were kids.
Do you
like
know
that.
there were kids out there like that?
And then I remember Z. She was like, those are the kinds of kids I grew up with.
Yeah.
So that's sad. Because it's just so fucking disturbing.
Yeah.
I feel like if I watched that now, again, it would be like, oh, this is sad.
That movie is not even. It's nowhere near as bad as Ken Park.
No,
Nowhere
Ken
near.
Park.
I can watch Kids over and over again.
Yeah,
compared
Kids
to Ken Park.
is pretty easy to watch after watching Ken Park, because Ken Park, you think, and this is what my mindset was, like, Kids, I thought it pushed the boundary. Ken Park fucking took the cake and ran with it. It got worse and worse, and every time I keep mentioning it to people, I was like, have you seen Kids? And because it's two different directors, but to me, I thought they were the same. Honestly, I thought he had something to do with Gummo, but it's a totally different director. And
oh, I thought he did too.
I thought he did too, and I'm just reading it right now. I thought it was him, but it's not. It's Harmony Korine, and Harmony Korine is. I'm gonna say it because people.
That's a fucking weird ass movie too.
When people put these two together and be like, this is what they say the majority of the time, is that you think Kids was fucked up, then you see Gummo. We both saw Gummo, and we were like, that.
Our faces were like.
It wasn't
what the
just
hell?
like it was kind of like, what the hell did we just watch? But why was this even made a fucking film? Kind of thing. It's just it's disturbing in a way because it's kind of up there with Kids, but I don't know
I
how to
still
describe
feel like the content of Kids and Ken Park and Bully is worse than Gummo. I feel like there had to have been a point to that movie, but I really don't care to give it the energy.
Yeah, to give it the
analyze it.
analyzation, because if it would have made its point, it would have made its point, I feel. But the reason why I was going there is because that same person who did Gummo did Spring Breakers. Exactly. So that kind of whole thing is like, that's probably another movie I probably don't need to fucking see.
I hear that movie's really weird. Like, in itself, it's also pretty weird.
Yeah, I don't. But
is that the one with Selena? Is it Selena Gomez?
Yeah, Selena Gomez and James Franco as this little fucking hood person.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just thinking about that one since it goes down this whole little wavelength. Of course, 13 does come to mind.
I love that movie.
It's weird because this is coming from my standpoint. At this point in time, of course, I was watching Requiem for a Dream. I saw Seven. I saw all these other movies. But the year this movie came out, it's gonna sound, like I said, it's gonna sound weird. But I connected to this film on ways like nobody could.
13?
13.
So did I. Well,
it's weird
that
because
movie,
it's all chicks.
No, but that movie came out when we were almost at that age. We were about that age when that. I mean, those were kids. I knew girls like that. Like, I knew of girls like that. So it was just kind of like, oh, whatever. And I feel like I could relate to that kind of bond, I guess, that those girls had. I mean, my friends never did anything like that.
Yeah, they were. You knew. Again, it's kind of coming with Kids. It's like you knew somebody that was out there like that. You just didn't. Within at least arm length distance, you had that person on speed dial, or you knew about that person at least.
But it was. 13. Those movies are just kind of like, just when you don't think it can get any worse. Or you don't think it can get any worse because they're kids. No, it gets worse. And it's just like, whoa, like how bad can these chicks get?
So when I'm mentioning all these movies and I'm looking them up, the movie I keep mentioning to you guys and I keep wanting you guys to watch it, it's directed by Gus Van Sant. But it's weird that it pops up on this list because it kind of does follow that same spectrum. But I don't know when, if you guys can confirm when the Columbine shootings did happen.
Elephant?
1998?
Yeah. Oh, you have seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
They informed me.
It's like I was saying right now. It was just the exact same remnants of what happened at the Columbine, but it takes these two kids, probably about, I think they're starting high school, bullied, of course, to some extent. They don't really get into it because you're kind of thrown into the mix. You're just really thrown into the fucking mix. You don't get no backstory. You don't get anything. The only thing that you get is these kids probably have been picked on, and they know what they can do and how far they can go. You think they could possibly get away with it. You think at one point they could do that, but something else happens, and it just, that movie to me, like, that's why I feel like the movies that like are about kids being picked on and stuff like that, it hurts a lot to watch. That's the other thing. There's very little score in this movie. Very little score.
Yeah, when people do that, or when filmmakers do that, I always feel it's, to a certain point, sometimes music, makes things more unsettling, but also there's a comfort in knowing that since there's music, it's not real. So when they deliberately don't put in music,
makes it worse.
It makes it, you almost can put yourself in the position of a character in the movie, or like as a bystander, you're just watching,
As you can tell, this is a topic that means greatly to each one of us.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we'll definitely just resubmitting this and going over it. We'll, like I said, once we partially put out the first half, we'll put up our list. Again, you guys put your list together. What would you say, top 5, top 10?
We can do...
I would say top 5.
Top 5 is kind of hard. Let's do 10.
Okay, 10 is more lenient.
Okay, so top 10 favorite horror movies. Top 10 most disturbing movies that you've seen. Has to be that you've seen. Not
Can't
that you've
be
heard
of.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't exactly the way I wanted this episode to go. But I guess we'll do that later. But this is cool anyway. Because we talked about horror movies, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to do an episode talking about like stuff that actually freaked us out when we were little. Like shows we used to watch. Goosebumps. Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Mm-hmm.
Beyond Belief.
We'll save that for another one.
Yeah, so we'll do that later. And then like scary stories that we've heard and that when we were little that still carry with us, or old wives' tales, urban legends, stuff like that.
Alright, so guys, if you haven't already, go ahead and add us on Twitter at the TNN Podcast, or at TNN Podcast. Go ahead and subscribe to us on SoundCloud at the New Nostalgia Podcast. Go ahead and follow us on Tumblr at the New Nostalgia Blog, and also subscribe to us on iTunes. Go ahead and find us there. Go ahead and leave comments. Go ahead and reply to us for any show topics that you want us to cover, anything that you kind of want us to talk about, and definitely leave us some kind of feedback on your personal stories or your favorite horror movies or the great mind fuck movies that you've watched in the past. So for Bugz and for Jennie, I'm Oscar. We're signing off. Bye.
Bye.